I would say it's more common among newer sponsors, newer investors to really be attracted to the value add space. It's been sort of the theme for the last, uh, decade or so as more training organizations have come about to really lean into that value add space that provides the best risk adjusted returns. I'm interested in hearing from you your mental shift into core plus, why you did that, and maybe some of the pros and also cons of the transition into core plus versus value add.
It's something that's evolved over time. Like you said, we cut our teeth in B and C value add. I mean, we definitely did some hairy deals, putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, and so we understand that very well. And that, and it's in the end, and I didn't really say this, but I'm glad you asked the question about value add, because when we look for a deal, it's the other thing I didn't mention is there needs to be some kind of value add with it. It needs to have,
Mm.
some kind of upside. And so, in the end, value add in the deal comes down to dollars. It's about taking your NOI from this amount to this amount, and so how do you get there? Well, the business plan that we like the best is to buy high quality assets, high quality areas, but where the current rents on the rent roll are below the current submarket
Mm.
by 10+%. So there's usually a story of, why that is. Could be that, it's a out of state, out of country owner. It could be an institution that owns it. And, maybe they're just not paying attention. So, we can go and improve operations, and burn off that loss to lease. Or it could be that there were a lot of deliveries in the area looking backwards, but the deliveries now are done. And so those concessions in the market have burned off. So looking forward, it's going to be great. Looking backwards, those concessions were there.
Over the last, let's say, 5 years, and even more recently, the last 3 years, as cap rates have compressed, you've seen, where most people have been focusing, or a lot of people have been focusing on value add, deeper value add plays where they had to really go in and have big CapEx budgets to, hit their return profile. There was so much competition in that space that you saw those cap rates compress further and further. Whereas, the core plus, where there's still an opportunity to add value to these assets, maybe it was a little less competitive because people weren't really focused on that. And so the delta between the two, or the margin between the two, was a little bit a little bit more compressed than it was prior to. So you could go and still achieve the same return profile on a core plus deal where you're focused on operations, whereas before that type of return profile was only available in the deeper value add play. Is that sort of what you were thinking during that time?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. So, when I started, there was a difference, probably at least 300, if not more, basis points in cap rate between an A class deal and a C class deal, which is meaningful, right? And here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and many areas in the Sun Belt say this similar story. It's like 50 basis points difference in cap rates. So it's almost the same cap rate, as there's been a lot more interest in, the investment money in the larger world is always looking for yield, and they're going to get it wherever they want. And so, that's put a lot of demand on, multifamily investments in general. But yeah, so in the end, if we're going to, spend a dollar to go buy some level of cash flow, be nice for that same dollar to basically buying a much higher quality, newer asset than an older one. And you were asking about, cons. And so like, well, why doesn't anybody do that? Well, it's, we've been doing this, just over 10 years, and it's been an evolution, because as it's like, you have to build up track record. And, also when you get in the A space, so then you start getting to your competitors, sometimes are big institutions, right? And the brokerage community that sells the assets is a different brokerage community. And so even though, you might have a track record in what you did before, they're kind of like, who are you?
Mm.
Because they're used to, working with other institutions. And so there definitely is a pretty high bar to get into the game. And then of course, a lot of the assets, just the raw dollar amount is a lot more. And so, that requires, bigger loans and bigger amounts of capital. So again, just the the barrier to entry is a little higher, or in some cases a lot higher. Or well, from where I started, huge difference.
Yeah.